Thanks, Rita. You're watching South East Today. Our top story tonight, the Kent head teacher introducing a ban on smartphones with children as young as 7 using them.
These apps that children are accessing, and then they don't have the maturity to actually know what they're accessing, what they're reading.
The taxi driver taking on TfL over speeding fines affecting thousands of motorists on a stretch of Kent Road where the limit was changed. A gambling epidemic in Medway with an estimated 200 million annually spent and a trail of broken lives. Oliver has more on this from Gillingham High Street tonight. And the big event, a heady mix of circus stunts, storytelling and showmanship. Equestrian theatre makes a comeback in Kent. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Ellie Crisell. Children as young as 7 are being given smartphones, with some primary school pupils consuming harmful, misogynistic content, a head teacher has said. In an exclusive interview with the BBC, Sophia Dover, head teacher of a Kent primary school, has called for a national ban, citing examples from another school where pupils set up an Andrew Tate club based on the self-styled misogynist after consuming harmful content on social media. As our Home Affairs correspondent Charlie Rose reports, the Education Secretary says the issue of school children's behaviour is a defining issue of our time.
Jamie, if you do not sit... Look up! I want to sit down! You do not tell me when to sit down!
A 13-year-old boy caught up in toxic conversations online faces hard questions after murdering a girl from his school. Since the Netflix drama was released, campaigners say there's been a spike in support for a government ban on smartphones for children under the age of 16.
The issues that we're seeing as a school are the repercussions of social media, WhatsApp in particular as well, these apps that children are accessing, and then they don't have the maturity to actually know what they're accessing, what they're reading.
And the head teacher says some children are being given smartphones very early in their lives.
We have had children as young as 7, 8 years old, so that's year 2 and 3, who've been given smartphones for their birthday.
She also gave examples from another school where pupils who consumed harmful content on social media set up an Andrew Tate club based on the self-styled misogynist. At this secondary school in Ashford, only sixth formers are allowed to access their phones. Devices belonging to younger pupils are kept in locked pouches.
With these pouches now in school, no one is distracted in lessons, you are concentrating more, you're not getting distracted from other peers that could be on their phone.
So I was very safe around my smartphone, but there are a lot of kids that won't be, and a lot of kids that don't understand how important it is to try and stay safe and have limitations.
And Year 12 students in other areas are also aware of the dangers.
I think it's very easy to look at the negatives of social media, but it has revolutionised everything that we find important in society. It's opened up new opportunities for young people.
Some influences on the internet actually affect people mentally, physically.
Some parents are signing up to a self-imposed ban, a so-called smartphone-free childhood pact.
It's putting parents together to say we can delay giving a smartphone until at least 14 and social media until at least 16.
And this head teacher is giving it her full support by introducing a ban at her school from September.
Well, Charlie joins us now. Charlie, this is a worrying issue for parents, isn't it? And what are the government doing?
Well, Ellie, in a keynote speech today, the Education Secretary said boys needed more male teachers as strong, positive role models. She was speaking ahead of the Online Safety Act coming into effect this year, which puts a duty on social media companies to protect children from harmful content. However, some proposed legislation put forward by a backbench MP, which originally suggested banning smartphones in schools, has since been watered down to gain government support. The Safer Phones Bill is calling for chief medical officers to put out guidance on children's use of smartphones and social media use within 12 months. It's calling for the Education Secretary to come up with a plan for research into the impact of the use of social media on children, and the proposed legislation wants the government to say within a year whether it will raise the digital age of consent from 13 to 16, meaning companies could not receive children's data without parental permission until that age. The Data Protection and Telecoms Minister, Chris Bryant, has said the recommendations chime with the government's intentions. It's clear the national conversation over smartphones and the benefits and dangers for children will continue for some time, Ellie.
Thank you, Charlie. A Folkestone taxi driver says he's ready to take the Mayor of London on to court after receiving speeding fines on a controversial stretch of road from Kent to London. Stephen Souter, one of the first motorists fined when the speed limit dropped on the A20 between Sidcup and Swanley, says he's accrued penalty points, increased insurance premiums and incurred extensive financial losses. Transport for London has refused to cancel fines, despite admitting there was a rogue sign on the A20. As Leanne Rinney reports, it's believed thousands of motorists could face driving bans after speed cameras triggered more than 60,000 penalties.
Stephen Souter has been a taxi driver for more than 25 years and has 2 young children to support. He had a clean driving licence until January last year, when he received a speeding ticket while travelling on the A20 Sidcup Road. He was given 5 points, a £300 fine, and his insurance has now gone up by almost £200.
There were no cones visible, there were no flashing lights to show that there were lane closures or anything like that. There was nothing to say that the roadworks were going to come on. I didn't see any signs whatsoever. And I've been driving for 25 years. I'm quite vigilant. You know, if I broke the speed limit, my career would last about 4 months. And there were a lot of people were really seriously impacted by this stretch of road.
Before October 2023, the speed limit on the Kent-bound stretch of the A20 for around 2 miles between Sidcup and Swanley went from 40 miles an hour to 50. Then Transport for London imposed a 40 mile per hour speed limit on the whole Kent-bound section due to issues from surface water. But drivers claim that a 50 mile per hour sign remained, causing confusion and leading to speeding tickets. Now there are calls for an independent investigation into how Transport for London handled the temporary speed limit.
The signage was completely insufficient. It was just too small. The chapter they followed was for permanent signage, which meant that the round signs were 450 millimetres, not the 900 millimetres required for a temporary speed limit.
In a statement, TfL said, "Safety is our #1 priority. We temporarily introduced a 40 mile per hour speed limit in response to a number of incidents caused by ongoing flooding issues, which posed a risk to life. All signage installed by TfL for the 40 mile per hour speed limit was correct and compliant with the regulations." Meanwhile, Stephen is back in court tomorrow, hoping that his conviction will be overturned after fighting for his case to be reheard. Leanne Rinney, BBC South East Today, Folkestone.
A teenager accused of murdering his father and attempting to kill a woman and another boy in a suspected knife and hammer attack in Brighton has appeared in court this morning. 57-year-old Emad Samir Botros Farag died at the scene on Tuesday. A woman and a boy were also found with serious injuries. 19-year-old Fabio Botros Farag was remanded in custody at Brighton Magistrates Court. Police hope advances in DNA profiling will help solve the mystery of a newborn baby girl who was found dead at a lake in Ashford 3 decades ago. The child, named Baby April by investigators, was found dead at Singleton Lake in April 1995. An extensive murder investigation took place following the discovery, but detectives were unable to identify her parents or any relatives. The Medway towns are grappling with a gambling epidemic, with estimates suggesting more than 200 million annually is being spent on various forms of gambling. Nashaba Khan, the newly elected MP for Rainham and Gillingham, says this staggering figure has left a trail of broken lives. Oliver Whitfield-Mearchich spent the day in the Medway town speaking to those who gamble and believe there needs to be more emphasis on addressing gambling addiction, especially for the young.
And you can win real cash and withdraw it to your bank or PayPal.
19-year-old Tilly Tonieri says she was enticed into gambling through free gaming apps that actually pay out money. Although advertised as costless, many applications sell so-called loot boxes, which allow people to play on or boost their odds.
It entices you. It's like, oh, you spend £5 and then you don't win anything. You think, oh, it's only another £5, and then you think, oh, I nearly won £100, but then I got greedy and then I lost all of that, so I'm going to try again. And it's a repeat cycle.
Tilly says some of her other teenage friends have also been sucked in, although she doesn't class herself as having a problem. The youth gambling prevention charity YGAM says youngsters are often surrounded by betting advertising.
Gambling's promoted by popular streamers, by influencers, and there's also a heavy presence of sponsorship in football and in other sports, and it further amplifies that exposure.
It's something which worries the MP for Gillingham and Rainham, who told Parliament children are also getting hooked.
A report by the Gambling Commission released in November 2024 showed that the proportion of young people between the ages of 11 and 17 experiencing problem gambling increased by 114% in just 1 year.
Historically, slot machines and high street booking shops have been blamed for adult gamblers spending hundreds of millions of pounds each year in Medway alone. But Nasaba Khan believes more harm is now being done digitally.
We talk about betting shops, and absolutely we need to be tackling that, but online is where people are getting a huge level of exposure, and that's really where a lot of the change needs to come through. And I've got huge concerns about what this means for people in my constituency.
The government says it's introducing maximum stake limits for online slots later this month. On the internet or in person, young or old, the chance of an instant big win remains alluring for some, despite the financial risks.
Well, Oliver joins us now from Gillingham High Street. Oliver, there are quite a few betting shops in the area, but the concern is more with online gambling, is that right?
Yes, because that's the place, Ellie, where you can gamble the easiest, from using a web browser to go to a casino or play bingo to those readily available mobile phone apps. People of all ages are only a few clicks or taps away from having a flutter. Now, the gambling industry says that it funds research into addiction prevention and treatment, but critics say that's merely a sticking plaster, and really these companies, which often make quite large profits, should be doing more for the people who at times are compulsively handing over their money.
Oliver, thank you. 2 men and a woman have been jailed for running brothels across the southeast. The 3 played leading roles in the prostitution of vulnerable victims in multiple towns and cities, including Canterbury, Chatham, Dartford, Gillingham, Maidstone and Tunbridge Wells. Sarah Smith reports.
Putting a stop to a criminal enterprise which saw hundreds of women brought into the country to face years of sexual abuse, told they had to pay off family debts.
Lena Wang. Lena, OK, Lena, we have a search warrant.
One of those controlling them was Lena Wang. The police investigation had relied heavily on mobile phone data. When her home was raided, her first thought was to hide the phones used behind her back.
She's got something behind us, the phones.
We found phones with 5 SIM cards inside, controlling the brothel, the adverts, contact with the sex workers at each of the brothels. Highly, highly organised, say UK-wide. The judge described it as a commercial enterprise, and absolutely it was. They were making so much money.
Wang was jailed for 5 years and 8 months by a judge at Maidstone Crown Court, who said she and her co-conspirators had used coercion, deceit and desperation to exploit their victims. They were described as a group of criminals responsible for untold misery, who had shown scant remorse or regret for their actions, which had enabled them to live the high life while their victims suffered in silence. They've now swapped that high life for one behind bars. Sarah Smith, BBC South East Today.
It's just after 7:15. A reminder of our top story tonight. Children as young as 7 are being given smartphones, with some primary school pupils consuming harmful, misogynistic content. Head teacher Sophia Dover from Folkestone is concerned about her students and calling for a national ban on mobile phones in primary schools. Also in tonight's programme. Pitch perfect. In our latest Behind the Teams, we visit the inclusive Brighton club Sea Gals FC.
And this sunny spell goes on and on. It's a fine and settled outlook. I'll give you a full later on in the programme.
Sport now, and thousands of runners will be resting their legs ahead of the Brighton Marathon this weekend. Events in the city include mini miles for young athletes, a 10k race, and of course the full thing on Sunday morning. With news of that and the rest of the sport, Juliet Parkin is at the finish line in Hove. Hello Juliet, that will be a welcome sight come Sunday.
Absolutely, Ellie, a very welcome sight indeed. They're just setting up here, ready for the weekend, but come Sunday, thousands of runners will be very relieved and hopefully elated to cross the finish line here on Hove Lawns, where they'll be reunited with friends and family with a medal hanging around their necks. Now, thousands of pounds will be raised for charity, and among those taking part in the marathon on Sunday will be Robin Fitzgibbon, who is running in place of his son and athlete Robbie Fitzgibbon, who passed away in October last year. Now, before his death, Robbie had signed up to run the marathon to raise money for the mental health charity Mind after his own struggles with mental health. Now, some of his teammates from his club, Brighton Phoenix, will be running the marathon alongside his father on Sunday. Robbie reached international level, and his coach remembers his desire to achieve.
He's probably his best race, and probably one of the races I'm most proud of as a coach is the 1500 metres that he ran for Great Britain indoors at Glasgow, and he actually made the final there, running, incredible race. Yeah, he was a real talented athlete, but worked really hard.
Well, very best of luck to all the runners at the weekend, and of course to all the volunteers involved as well. And talking of volunteers, this season we've been meeting the supporters and volunteers at the heart of non-league football clubs in our Behind the Teams series. Next up is the grassroots side Brighton Sea Gals FC, an inclusive club for women, non-binary and trans players. The club started up in 2019 and now has 140 members. The Sea Gals first team plays in the 7th tier of the women's football pyramid. That's the Sussex County Women and Girls Football League. But the club also has a recreational section, rebranded Sea Pals, in order to be more inclusive. I went along to see them in training and meet the volunteers behind the team.
An all-inclusive club with diversity at its very core. This is Brighton Sea Gals FC, a grassroots club for women, non-binary and trans people in Brighton and Hove, where players can be as competitive or non-competitive as they like. All wear their badge with pride.
It's got our little rainbow and it's got the pavilion, and Brighton is such an important place to a lot of the people that come here. The team is always doing something to be that inclusive. Like we've rebranded Sea Gals to Sea Pals, like to be more inclusive of those non-binary and like transgender people. It's just, that's what the badge means to me. It's just always changing, but it's always the same love and respect that we have for everyone else.
The growth is impressive. Sea Gals was founded in 2019 with just a handful of players, just enough to get a team together. But they had to find coaches, facilities, everything needed to call themselves a club.
People have this very stereotypical view of what football can be based on how widely publicised the men's game is. But actually, I think the women's game is really setting an example, especially with its growth, about how you can still fiercely back a team and fiercely be involved, but there not be this, this discrimination and this horrible behaviour that we see. And actually, women's football is a really safe space to be.
Seagulls FC has never shied away from supporting national campaigns. The Football v Homophobia movement is about tackling discrimination.
I think, like, as for myself, that's someone that's non-binary, it's really nice to feel like you're in a group and that everyone's together.
I love playing football and I love seeing women playing football and enjoying it, and also because it's for a really good cause.
It's just such a nice chance to feel part of a community and play some sport, do something wholesome on a Saturday and raise some money.
Equality, diversity, inclusion. They're the core values that this club are founded on, and they don't stand still in order to stay true to them.
It's at the forefront of our minds in every decision we make, even as far as making sure that the committee is diverse and that we represent our members and that we're considering things like age and sexual orientation, so that we're always really able to think about our members and represent them fully.
Everyone who helps run this club is a volunteer wearing many different hats. Georgia Rooney is a qualified referee, coach and club secretary.
Without volunteers, this club wouldn't exist. And I think as a volunteer myself, one of my biggest responsibilities is to encourage other volunteers and to make them feel welcome and to support them.
We've got our kind of tagline is more than football, and actually, like, there is so much more beyond that. There's so much to learn, and the club wouldn't run without volunteers. You know, we do it because we love it.
This club is constantly evolving to move with the times, a movement on and off pitch that takes everyone with it towards a more inclusive game.
And you can find out more on our Behind the Teams series online, on BBC Sounds and on BBC Local Radio. Well, finally, from Seagulls to Seagulls, and in the Premier League last night, it was not the result that Brighton and Hove Albion were hoping for. For now, it promises to be a lovely weekend weather-wise down here on the seafront. Let's just hope it's not too warm for all the runners out there. Back to you, Ellie.
Well, forecast coming up in a moment. Thanks, Jules. Now, it's a spellbinding spectacle of stunts, storytelling and showmanship. Equestrian theatre, or hippodrama, is one of the world's oldest art forms, but it's being brought back to life here in Kent. The White Horse Farm Equestrian Centre has been putting on the shows for a matter of months, but it's already become hugely popular, as Hannah Rowe discovered.
All hands on deck. Here at the White Horse Stables, it's a hive of activity. In just an hour's time, they're going to put on a very rare spectacle, an equestrian theatre show, and there's lots still to do.
It's exciting and it's something different at the end of the day. Not everyone can say that they're in a theatre show and perform in front of hundreds of people.
All of the animals here are trained to perfection, even those not in the show. A unique blend of stunts and dressage make these far from one-trick ponies, and a lot of work has gone into training, from the biggest to the smallest performers.
Now these two may look like natural stars. This is Pebbles, and this here is Nero. Nero does a lot of the tricks in the show, like rearing up, all sorts. The show has only been running for a matter of months, but already it's become very, very popular.
The show started, I think with just 40 seats, but it was 18 months ago. We've now got the grandstand seating, all the special effects. We've got 26 different horses in the show, from American miniatures all the way up to these great big beautiful Shire horses.
The show tells the tale of Bravo, a little horse who dreamed that one day he would dance. A story written by a world champion who turned her own dressage dreams into reality.
We've danced all across Europe. 6 times we've represented Great Britain. What we do here is classical dressage, which is centuries old, and it's an art form.
The Bravo show goes on tour this summer to show everyone any horse can dance and anyone can reach their dreams. Hannah Rowe, BBC South East Today, Mepham.
Well, we've all been dreaming of spring, and it looks like it's here, isn't it, John?
Yes, your dreams are going to come true, Ellie, through this weekend. It's set fair. What a beautiful sunrise it was. And by the afternoon, a lovely one to just graze the grass, which is growing abundantly now, of course, with those higher temperatures. And it's set to stay fine for the next few days, but warmer in some places more than others. For the east coast of Kent, for example, just 14 degrees with that easterly breeze. It's been cooler here for the last few days. Head westwards, this is where the highest temperatures have been. We're up into the low 20s in 1 and 2 places, and we'll keep that sort of east-west split across the region through the next few days. Always warmest across western parts of Kent and into Surrey and Sussex. But wherever you are, loads of sunshine to come, and yep, it's going to stay fine throughout the weekend. There has been some rain across the southwest of England, quite heavy rain too, but for us we've just had a little bit of high cloud, and that should make for quite a nice sunset out there over the next hour or so. It's still a little bit of high cloud, but basically dry and clear for most of us as we head into the night, and not cold, 7 or 8 degrees as a low. Tomorrow then starts off fine and dry. It stays fine and dry, and if anything, it'll be even warmer than today, particularly again out west, as I mentioned, 21, possibly 22 degrees. If we reach that, it'll be the warmest day of the year. A bit fresher again towards eastern parts of Kent with that breeze coming in off the sea. Heading into the weekend then, more of the same. Might be a little bit of cloud first thing, but that'll clear. Temperatures not just as high, and actually over the next few days we'll import something a little bit cooler. The blues taking over, but well, I'm splitting hairs. Basically, Ellie, it's a lovely outlook.
Stop splitting hairs, it looks great.
Yes,
Thank you very much, John. That's it from John and me and everyone. Ian Palmer is back at 10:30. Bye-bye.